Greetings and salutations, friends and gamers of all stripes. My name is GM Dave. I am your man behind the screen, and welcome to Day 3 of RPG A Day 2021, where we're going to be looking at the word tactic. And with this one, we're going to actually springboard directly off what we were talking about last with our talk on maps. And that is the idea of theater of the mind, abstract maps. And how can you integrate tactics into these kinds of maps? How can you integrate tactics into these kinds of games that don't utilize the grid-based tactical battle map when the grid-based tactical battle map is, as is obvious by the name, expressly and explicitly made for tactical grid-based combat? How do you do that with theater of the mind? And the short answer is that you don't. You're not using that type of tactical combat, but that doesn't mean that tactics within the game aren't going to happen and are not going to exist. Tactics is something that we tend to apply to specifically combat scenarios, and there is a contingent within the hobby that has a habit of believing that you need a grid-based map to be able to engage in tactical combat. But this is ultimately false. There are other options and other ways with which you can approach this, both as a player and as a game master. And I'm going to touch on it as a game master first, because that's what I tend to do in my groups. I tend to be the ones running the game. Of late I've been playing more, but usually I run the game. So how can you, as a game master, engage in a form of tactical combat if you're using Theater of the Mind and simplified maps, or something like Ultimate Dungeon Terrain as promoted by Professor Dungeon Master of the Dungeon Craft channel? Well, it's simple. You just have to bear in mind that your job as the Dungeon Master is to set up challenges for the players to attempt to overcome. And remember, these don't have to be balanced or fair challenges. They don't have to be balanced or fair encounters. You are the Game Master. Your job is to set up challenges and scenarios for the players to engage with. Yes, we're going all the way back to day 1 with this one, which by the time of the upload of this is only going to be about an hour ago. But I digress. One of your jobs as the Game Master is to set up challenges for your players to engage with. They don't have to be fair, and they don't have to be balanced. They just have to be a challenge that the players, through their own approach, can attempt to overcome. And that is where tactics come into play for the players in Theater of the Mind games. The tactics are how they choose to approach the different challenges that they are faced with. And that can be everything from trying to find a way to overpower it, to engaging in a tactical retreat, to maybe engage with that challenge later. So ultimately, tactics in a Theater of the Mind game revolves around how the players decide to work together to engage with the challenges you as the GM are presenting to them. But that then raises the question of how do they know exactly what to engage with? How can they make a decision and figure out what options are available to them? And well, that falls to you describing the scene. In Theater of the Mind, it is the role of the GM to give a clear account of what is happening to the players. And you can, of course, use visual aids and the simplified maps that I mentioned in the previous part of this series to present as clear a picture as possible to them for what they're about to engage with. And through the combination of your presentation and the group dynamic, the players are then going to be able to figure out how they're going to approach the challenges you're presenting before them. And through that, they're going to develop the tactics they prefer to use. And these, friends and gamers, are my thoughts on how tactics fit into Theater of the Mind type games. But I want to hear your thoughts. How have tactics come into play in Theater of the Mind type games for yourself? Or if you don't prefer those kinds of tactics, what kind do you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and as always, make sure to open the description box to follow me on my social media presences. Minds.com in particular is the best place to follow me, as is where I back up the plurality of my videos. You can also follow the Webtoons link down below to read Phoenix Rising, my fantasy adventure webcomic that is posted monthly. With that, friends and gamers, remember, my name is GM Dave. I am your man behind the screen, and in the world of tabletop gaming, you do not want to just sit back and watch, but get in there and game. Have a good one.